My name is Lara, and I never thought that the love I had for someone could cause so much pain. It was the kind of love you see in movies. Magical, intense, and beautiful. But it wasn't just beautiful. It was dangerous. You see, when I fell in love with Ryan, I knew it wasn't going to be easy. But I didn't realize how hard it would get. What happens when the one person you love more than anything in the world isn't accepted by the most important people in your life? Can love really survive, even when your family refuses to accept it? Let me tell you the story of how I fought for Ryan, how I lost, and how, in the end, I learned that love isn't always enough to overcome the world's toughest challenges. It all started 2 years ago. I was just finishing my last year of university, and I didn't really believe in love at first sight. I thought that idea was something from old romance novels. But when I met Ryan, everything changed. Ryan was different from anyone I had ever known. He was confident, charming, and caring. He had this smile that could make you feel like the most important person in the room. It was impossible not to be drawn to him. At first, it was just friendship. We met at a mutual friend's party, and I thought he was nice, but I didn't think much of it. He was older than me by 4 years, and I wasn't looking for anything serious. But as the weeks went on, we started talking more. We started spending time together. I was the shy, quiet type, content with studying and hanging out with a few close friends. Ryan was outgoing. He had this energy about him that made everything feel exciting. He made me laugh. He listened to me, and I began to feel something growing inside me. It was more than just friendship. It was love. But there was one thing I didn't expect. As much as Ryan cared for me, there was one thing I couldn't control: the disapproval of my family. And that's where our story truly began. I come from a very traditional family. My parents have always had a clear idea of what they wanted for me. They wanted me to find someone who shared our values, someone who could provide a stable future. Ryan didn't fit that mold. He wasn't wealthy, and his family didn't have the same background as mine. He came from a modest family, and while he was hardworking and passionate about his career, he didn't have the same social status that my parents expected from me. When my parents met him for the first time, I could tell something was off. They were polite, of course, but it wasn't long before the tension was palpable. The whispers behind my back, the concerned looks exchanged between my parents. It was clear. They didn't approve. I tried to ignore it at first. I told myself that as long as Ryan and I were happy, that was all that mattered. But the pressure started to build. My family would make little comments, questioning Ryan's intentions. They would ask about his job, his plans, his future. It wasn't long before I realized they were judging him. But Ryan and I didn't care. We were in love, and we decided to continue our relationship, despite the disapproval. But I didn't know how hard it would become, especially when my family began to take things to the next level. One evening, just a few months after Ryan and I became serious, I was sitting at the dinner table with my family. The topic of Ryan came up, and my mother, who usually kept her thoughts to herself, couldn't hold back any longer. "Lara, you deserve better than him," she said, her voice steady but firm. "You need to find someone who can give you the life you deserve." I was taken aback. I tried to defend Ryan, but my mother wasn't hearing it. The argument escalated quickly, and suddenly my father joined in. "We've worked so hard to provide for you, and this is the man you choose," he said, disappointment clear in his eyes. "Lara, you need to be realistic. You can't spend your life with someone who doesn't have a future." I felt trapped. It was the first time I truly understood that my family would never accept Ryan. I felt torn between the two most important things in my life: my family and the man I loved. That night, I called Ryan. I told him what had happened, and he was quiet on the other end of the line. "Lara," he said after a long pause, "I don't want you to choose between me and your family. But I love you. I can't just walk away from you." And that's when I realized this wasn't just a small problem. This was a battle for our love, our future, and everything we had fought for up until that point. As time passed, the strain on our relationship grew. I wanted to be with Ryan, but every time I went home, the tension was unbearable. My family became more and more insistent that I end things with him. "You can't waste your life on someone who doesn't fit into our world," they would say. I didn't know how to stand up for our love without losing the people who raised me. Ryan started to feel it too. He could see how much it hurt me to fight with my family. He didn't want to be the cause of my pain. But he couldn't just leave either. We both wanted to fight for us. But the longer this went on, the harder it became. I would cry, he would hold me, and we'd promise each other we'd make it through. But it wasn't just my family causing problems. Ryan's family didn't approve of me either. They thought I was too young, too naive, and not experienced enough for their son. His mother told him, "You could do better than her. You deserve someone who is more like us." At first, I was angry. I wanted to scream at them. I wanted to tell them that I loved their son, and that should be enough. But the more I tried to fight for us, the more I realized love alone wouldn't be enough to change their minds. One afternoon, Ryan and I had a long conversation about our future. We sat on the park bench where we had shared our first kiss, holding hands and looking at the sky. It was peaceful, but the silence between us was heavy. "I don't want to lose you, Lara," Ryan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I don't want you to keep fighting your family for me. I can't do that to you." My heart broke in that moment. I had never imagined a future without him. I couldn't believe that this love, this beautiful love, was being torn apart by the expectations of others. I asked him, "What do we do now? Do we just let go of everything we've built?" And Ryan, as much as it hurt, said, "I think we need to take a step back. I don't want to be the reason you lose your family. You have to decide what's more important to you." It was the hardest decision I'd ever had to make. For days, I couldn't sleep. I didn't know if I was doing the right thing. But eventually, I knew. I had to make a choice. It was the hardest day of my life when Ryan and I agreed to take a break. We both needed space to think, to figure out if our love was enough to survive the pressure. I told him, "Maybe this is for the best. Maybe it's time for us to let go." He didn't want to, but he agreed. We hugged, said goodbye, and walked away from each other, knowing that things would never be the same. After Ryan and I broke up, life didn't get any easier. I went home, trying to put on a brave face for my family. But inside, I was empty. I had lost the one person who truly made me happy. My parents were happy that I was no longer seeing Ryan, but they didn't see the hurt in my eyes. They didn't understand that I had lost something far more valuable than their approval. Weeks passed, and I focused on my studies, on my career, and on my family. But nothing felt right. I still thought about Ryan every single day. Then, one day, I received a letter from him. He said he couldn't forget about me. He said he still loved me, and he was willing to fight for us. It was all I needed to hear. Ryan and I decided to meet again. This time, we didn't want to let anything get in the way. We met at the same park, the place where we first fell in love. We talked for hours, and this time I knew love wasn't easy. It was never going to be perfect, but it was worth fighting for. Together, we faced our families again. It wasn't easy, but this time, we didn't back down. We fought for each other. Slowly, my family began to accept Ryan, and his family started to see me for who I was, a woman who truly loved their son. And that's how we made it. Ryan and I got through the hardest challenge of our lives, and we built our future together. I've learned so much from this journey. Love isn't always enough to make things easy, but when you find someone who makes you feel like you can conquer the world, don't let anyone tell you it's not worth fighting for. If you're in a relationship where your love is challenged, remember, it's not about pleasing everyone else. It's about finding your own happiness and doing what feels right for you. The road will be tough, but love, true love, is always worth the fight. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share with anyone who might need to hear it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.